Okay, now what we're going to talk about is Pes Planus. What is Pes Planus? It sounds really bad. Flat foot. It is really bad, and I'll tell you why. I like to put physics into everything because it explains everything, right? So everybody, when they talk about the arch of the foot, they think of that medial arch right here, right? That's not the only arch you have. You actually have three arches in the foot. You have the medial one, you have a lateral one, and you have one that bends the toes like this, kind of like the hand here, right? In the wrist, you also have an arch that does this, as an exaggeration. So all three arches. So as we saw in the spine, what do curves in structure help do? They help dissipate forces, right? Give you the example. No curve, you pound it. You can feel, put a little curve in there and you hit, and you feel how forces are dissipated. That's what these things do, right? So, and this is actually, I could go on for about an hour and a half at least with this, but I won't. What's going to happen is, in a flat foot, you're not dissipating the forces naturally, okay? So what happens is, there's a couple things that number one, your angle of the foot changes, you start to pronate, okay? Now, like I said, we like straight things. In long bones, you gotta be straight. So as you come out here, actually, your Achilles tendon is gonna curve because now your leg is going to be curved. This is the medial side. This is the inside. This is the outside of the foot. You're standing behind them. This is the right foot. And then it's going to be like this. Now, your knee, right? Your femur. It isn't going to keep going like this. It's going to go like this to bring you back to the hip, right? Because you should be hip, knee, or ankle, knee, hip. But if this is going this way, this has got to go this way. So now the concave side of that knee is going to see more force. So eventually what's going to happen is that, now you got to look at, if you're very athletic, it's going to start to get painful in the meniscus, in the medial side of the knee, in the medial plateau. It's going to work its way up. Whenever you already have the physics wrong with the dissipation of forces, now you're looking at the foot, the ankle, the knee, the hip, the SI, the low back. None of those are going to be right because the forces are going to be dissipated all wrong through those. So that's another topic too. I could talk on forever. Now, this is a side view of a flat foot. Okay, so right now, it's not dissipating any forces. Actually, it's creating a stretch tension on your plantar fascia, plantar fasciitis, right? So that plantar fascia is something that goes from the calcaneus to the forefoot, right? And it helps hold that curve. When you don't have a curve, then it's being stretched. So you're probably having a lot of discomfort in the plantar fascia. Eventually, the angle of the foot to the ankle, right? So here, you're going to see more force than here. That'll degenerate. As you go up to the knee, it's going to come back. So the medial side of the knee is going to degenerate quicker than the lateral side. So it's just dong, 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 dong. It's just going to be a chain reaction of bad things happening starting in the foot. You'll see a lot of sometimes flat feet, congenital, you were born with it. Athletic issues, running wrong, right? So when you run, when you walk, it's heel to toe, right? When you run, it's toe box. You're supposed to land right here. Okay, why? Okay, let's just take a look at that. As you plant your foot on heel, right? What is contracted? The muscle that is contracted mainly is tibialis anterior. And that's going to take the brunt of the force. You're not going through the arches of the foot to help dissipate it, so it's going straight up, okay? So it's a smaller muscle. It's going straight up, usually to the hip, IT band, SI joint, low back, okay? Now, if you move and do what's called a ball of the foot strike, what's happening now is what muscles contracted? Your calves. So that's actually two muscles, gastroc and soleus. Those are bigger muscles than tibialis anterior. They're made to take that force, okay? So now you're striking the ball of the foot, just this area. This is, the heel's not on the ground yet. And what happens is that force goes whoosh, through the arches. Arches do what? They dissipate forces. So now you're lessening the forces before they're even sent up. You've got a bigger muscle to go ahead and absorb those big forces, right? So right there, the chain of force is a lot better for you. That tells you, the structure right there tells you on how you should be running. Why run and not walk? Because the amount of forces and the the timing of how long your foot is on the ground, okay? The faster you go, the more, say, run, as you go towards run, you've got to change your planting of the foot because more forces are dissipated. When you walk, it's one force. When you run, you're multiplying that force, okay? So the reason why this is bad is a number of reasons. It changes the whole physics of the foot, which now changes the physics of the ankle, the knee, the hip, the SI joint, the low back. And it's going to be a chain. Eventually, long enough, it's going to affect all of those. So what can you do? Very good question. Depending upon how bad it is, maybe a surgical intervention is needed. First line is to get an orthotic that'll support that arch, that will actually push this up and force it. Typically, what I see is those are uncomfortable at first for somebody with a bad case and had it, the longer that they've had it, their foot is used to. And also these bones here too are starting to get arthritic because that's not the natural transmission of those forces, right? So depending upon how long they've had it before they get an orthotic is how much damage has already started in the foot, let alone the ankle, the knee, the hip, the SI, the back. Okay, so really, to be honest with you, a flat foot is a serious matter, right? Because in time, it will affect the low back. It's going to get to the low back, and you're going to have chronic low back pain, right? The longer that you hesitate to do something about that flat foot, get an orthotic, go to someone to get diagnosed and see what's going on. The worse the condition is going to get, and then the more involved the treatment's going to be. Okay, so flat feet is not an easy matter. It really won't. In the long term, you're going to be miserable, basically. Okay, and if you're an athlete, you want that taken care of quicker, sooner rather than later. Okay, so that is Pes Planus, which is flat foot. Kind of rolled up. I could talk on for hours for that.